I just can't help but think of the phrase, don't look at a gift horse in the mouth. When I'm really in, when I'm really in my head about something, when I'm enjoying myself, but then this moment comes where I stop doing that thing where I'm constantly in my head and I actually start enjoying myself. It's awesome. It feels great. It feels like I overcame a lot. But then I'm like, well, why am I enjoying myself? And then it becomes a whole thing again. It it's just exhausting. You know? I mean, it's a really good thing I caught it tonight, and it's a good thing I'm making this video about it. I was just gonna write about it, but I don't know, I don't know. I like talking about it. I don't know. Sorry, I'm torturing this little boy. I'm sorry. I'm harassing you. He's so tolerant of me. I'm sorry, buddy. Don't jump. Good boy. You say don't jump. I mean, he technically still jumps, but like he won't claw into you or anything like that. Anywho, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Well, it's not funny. It's... Yeah, I like that I caught myself, basically. Like... And I still overall was able to enjoy myself. I was just watching John Wick again. But, it's like... The first time I watched it, actually. This is the third time I've watched it. But first time I watched it, I was really all fucked up. That's when I first got sober. And I didn't really go about getting sober the right way. And I just kind of like, that was when I was white knuckling it. And then the second time I watched it was on the plane ride, on the plane ride back here. Hi. He's a needy little boy. He wants to go outside. Not now, buddy. I'm sorry. Yeah, and the first time I was not enjoying myself at all watching it. But like I was surprised how much of it stuck with me as a result of me watching it. Not as a result, despite the fact that I was going through that. So it was really, really cool actually when I watched it the second time, and I was like, oh, man, a lot of this stuck in my head. That's really cool. But then I was finding reasons not to enjoy myself this time. And then I did it again this time in its own way. But overall, I definitely did enjoy myself, but I'm still kind of like beat myself up about those tiny little moments when I wasn't, because, I keep thinking that I always like, man, it's gonna happen again. It's been happening so many times. When's the last time it's gonna happen? I think the last time it's ever going to happen like that is just the last time it's going to happen. One day I'm just not gonna think about it, and I'm just gonna do what I want to do without really any concern about it. And it won't be the first time I do that. It won't go away the first time I do that, but then I do it again and again and again, and then one day I'll realize I just haven't done it in a while. But then again, I guess that's the fear, because there was a time I hadn't done it in a while, and then I did it again. So, I mean, it's I guess the kind of let things come in waves type thing as well, but I don't know, I'm able to work through it right now. Like, thankfully I didn't hold on to the thoughts of like, oh my fucking God, like, you fucking idiot, fucking enjoy yourself. But I do have to address the fact that like I still have this fucking voice in my head or whatever that tells me I have to be doing something all the time. After I'd recorded the previous video, I don't know, I was just really giving myself shit, because it's like, well, where's the next thing? Where's the next, problem to have? What's the next thing I gotta tackle now? Without realizing that that's just gonna happen, and you don't need to be so hyperfixated on it, on whatever the next issue is that you have to deal with, because it's gonna come anyway. So there's like a weird comfort in the fact that there'll be more to deal with. But it wasn't even just like, a real crazy thing. Like, what's the next mental obstacle? At least at that time, eventually it became, what was the next mental obstacle? As I was fucking watching that movie. Actually, funny enough, part of why I was able to enjoy the movie is like, I busted out of the CR and just started puffing on that, and kind of like, the tobacco got my bloodstream and just chilled me out a bit, you know. So there was that too, the whole like, yes, definitely stop with that caffeine, because that's not doing you any favors. You shouldn't have to use drugs. I say drugs loosely, because it's just a cigar. But yeah, to be able to have fun. I mean, hell, this is your issue from before of why you started drinking, or started drinking again, or started drinking and then started drinking again. Whatever. It's the reason why you drank. You just want to let yourself have fun naturally. And the way to have fun, just in general, is just when you get out of your head. And that really means get out of your head. Just let go of whatever the loose thoughts were that were just hanging on for dear life. And just when they leave you, let them leave you. I know for me it's not confusing, or maybe confusing, but also just concerning when that does happen, because it's so unfamiliar. But I let it continue to be unfamiliar, because every time that happens, I try to cling back onto it. So, and that's the point I was getting at about why the loosening up part and stuff like that, and letting go and actually having fun has got to happen more than one time for me to just completely forget about it. Because the reason it keeps not happening for me is because I choose to stay in that. I stay in that misery, stay in that, yeah. And, and even now I'm like, just being like, in what way is this going to negatively affect me in the future? This night in particular, which is a thought I always have when stuff like this happens. But then it never really does amount to anything. Not really. Not in reality. I'll make it amount to something, but it doesn't amount to shit. It's, a cigar is just a cigar. It's just kind of like, it's not that deep. It really isn't. It's never that deep. But I always make it out to be in my head. Yeah. So, I just, let it come in waves, and the shit's gonna happen. But no sense in ruining what ended up in reality in the end being a good night. There's no sense in ruining that just because you think that's necessary for whatever reason. It's never gotten me anywhere doing that kind of shit. Or examining what was fun about a certain thing, because like, why would you do that? That's like the antithesis of fun. Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's this thing of like fearing that I'll never have that ability to enjoy myself the way I did when I was younger. But I already said that before, that technically isn't ever going to happen necessarily. But you can approach it a new way. With being aware of how you tend to be about things, and then just kind of like rolling with shit, because that your mind's just always going to be on at all times. So there's no point in you trying to force it to shut off, or ironically, you trying to force yourself not to worry about what the next thing is makes you worry about that thing more. Just kind of let those thoughts wash over you naturally, and they'll come in waves. It'll come back as you're doing the thing you're doing. It's not just gonna, it's all gone now. It's not that necessarily, because it always comes back, but then it always leaves again. So it's just, fucking, yeah. So, yeah, that's how my night's been. Luckily, I didn't completely ruin my night for myself. My optimism had maybe been shot down slightly from what it was when I recorded the previous video, but yeah. Shit happens. And this is to make sure that I do what I need to. It's not just the one day at a time or whatever like that. It's not even just that, because in that mindset I also said one video at a time, like one of these a day. Nah. It's gonna be as many of these as I want it to be. There might be some days where there's none. Might be weeks or months where you never see another one of these vlogs, but they'll always be there. I don't know. It and I need to find my purpose. No, I don't need to find my purpose. I know what my purpose is. It's just I make it more complicated than it needs to be. I'm still unfortunately stuck in that mode of trying to think my way into making things better. When there is, the saying I learned in recovery was, or rehab, recovery, whatever, same thing. We do not, or, well, most people actually do it the other way around, which is the point of why people end up in rehab, but what it should be and what they tell you for where you should reframe your mind is, we don't think our way into better living. We live our way into better thinking. And, it's sure it's a little different when the fun thing you're trying to do is watch a movie, because when you watch a movie, you kind of just sit still, versus if it's a video game or if it's going out and doing something really active. It's a little different. But that's the thing I need most of all, is to be able to learn how to be okay just sitting still. And sure, you could say part of that is just an ADHD thing or whatever, but it's not just that. It goes deeper than that. Yeah, and I don't know if I'll finish that journal entry like I said I was, but that same topic, that actually brings me to what I was just talking about things coming back, is that topic I've been continually trying to tackle, but keep getting sidetracked by life. It keeps coming back, so I'll get to it eventually. It's not even that big of a fucking deal, because it's really, the thing I wanted to write on the journal was something I already knew, but it would just be nice to finally put it out into words, because there's been things in my life that I really knew what happened or why it happened or whatever, but it wasn't until I was able to write it out or say it out loud or something like that it really, like, not that it clicked, because it already did, but, like, I don't know, just it helped process it even more, because it's a thing that's always already real, but, like, then it's, like, more real, and it's confirmed real. Yeah. Off topic. Well, technically nothing's off topic here, but yeah, and a big part of the reason I want to make this video is just so I don't, because I'm gonna go to bed soon, and I don't want to go to bed with these thoughts still swirling around. And yeah, I overthink. It's like, well, you shouldn't need to do this to feel better, but hey, whatever helps you, and we live in an age where you're able to post about anything, essentially, so why the fuck not, right? Plus, I grew up with YouTube and shit like that, and it's just natural for me to want to do it this way, because, I would always watch people do this kind of stuff, and I liked it, and so it's just kind of like, It's just like me wanting to do music, being influenced by, you know, bands I listened to growing up, and my dad who played guitar. Just like that's influenced by that, you know. It's That's what influences this, and hell, that's what influences all that bad shit too. We're all just products of our childhood, really. In the end, everything that we do, even when you feel like you grew past it, you didn't really. And hell, look at the fucking poster behind me. My favorite game growing up still sticks with me to this day. Yeah, and then the whole, you know, the further I get from home, you know, and the more I accomplish in my adult life, I'm scared to accomplish more because I'm scared that I won't be able to find my way back home. But that's crazy. That's a ridiculous thought because, like I just said here, it always comes back. So, like, there's a song about that too, and this is kind of, it's called Pieces by Stone Sour. You know, it's, the way Corey described it was like this. So something along the lines of like in the song, it's like wanting to take over the world, but being like scared that you won't be able to find your way back home. So yeah, and I guess that's a concern I've had through a lot of my life, and that's the reason I hang on to shit maybe I shouldn't hang on to. And you know, it bleeds into me being too concerned about, you know, why am I having fun now? Am I not allowed to have fun? Because like I'm worried I'll miss something. Ironically, I don't enjoy things as much because I'm trying to capture my enjoyment of them too tightly. So I'm just letting things go, you know. Being present in the moment also means letting things not pass you by, but like just kind of like come and go. You can't latch on to anything. And humans aren't programmed to really appreciate all in the moment. So I gotta stop trying to hijack my brain and trying to, you know, trying to like make it different for me when not acknowledging that, hey, you're a fucking human being too. Like, yeah. So, you know, there's an arrogance in that mindset that I've had for so long. And I'm not just gonna record this video and then magically I'll be cured. It doesn't work like that, but it's just it's just a step in the right direction, I feel. Yeah. It's not much else to say about it. Just I think what I go through is probably very relatable for some people, and there's not enough of a voice put to it. I'm not a popular channel or anything like that, but it would be nice if I'm able to touch at least a few of those people. You know, kind of just, you know, let them know they're not alone. You know, because it's such an odd thing that a lot of people don't understand, even people with their own issues, because everyone's got their issues, but like the particular, some of the, not all of them, maybe, I don't know, but some of the particular ones I've been talking about are very niche. But like, there's got to be varying degrees of relatability, I guess, to it out there. I hope there is. It it all is, you know. There's a lot of relatability between us as people. It's just we get too caught up in the details of it on how specifically it is with me versus you, and it might actually be the same thing and the same feelings. It just looks different, so it's easy to convince yourself that this person here doesn't understand what you're going through because it looks like this with them. But just, yeah, I mean, like the whole thing about all the people I met and got to know and got to know in recovery and shit like that was just a lot of people with a lot of different life experience, and everyone's lives looked differently, but a lot of the feelings were exactly the same. So there's that too. Another thing I need to remember. Uh, and each of these videos I say, oh, this is something I need to keep in mind, I need to keep reminding myself. I don't think it's just that. There's definitely that. I hung up a few things from recovery around the house to kind of remind myself. I just did that tonight. But it's not just that. It's not constantly trying to remind myself. It's letting go of everything. It's just letting life keep moving on with the confidence that I'm not going to lose all those things that I learned. Or, I guess not just that, but like, what am I trying to say? Well, I mean, it's, you know, not trying to remember so much, because I guess trying to remember the things I've learned kind of make me not apply it as much, you know. I stay in place because I want to absorb as much as I can now before moving on to the next thing, instead of just moving on to the next thing and being confident that it will all carry over. All then what needs to carry over will carry over. Not everything will carry over, but yeah. So that's another issue I've had, and you can kind of tell in these videos I've been spinning my wheels about it. So that's a realization I've literally just had right now as I'm talking. You know, and it really puts that saying, it applies, the we don't think our way in better living, we live our way into better thinking, that apply better now. Like, I can actually see where it applies better. Not to say that I didn't necessarily before, but like, I don't know, I have a better understanding now. I had one degree of understanding, and now I have a whole new understanding of it. And it's also easy for me to get hung up on the fact that these videos in particular don't get a lot of views. You know, the ones where I'm just talking to a camera. So there was that too. I was overthinking that. It's like, because I had this idea for another video, and I was like, I got to do that first before doing another one of these. But I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. This is just my fucking channel. I can. There's no rules that say I have to do it any other way. You know, that applies to a lot of things. There are rules we all create for ourselves in our heads just because all these people did it this way. Okay. That really doesn't. You're limiting yourself by only looking at it like that. Like, hell, I forever have looked at success in music and the rock star fashion. Or, I mean, okay, it's easier to let go of that in this day and age because anyone can come out with music. So my whole thing of just being able to release my music being one of the main things is pretty fucking easy to do. So I guess, you know, it's easy for me to say in our current generation, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like, I saw this video, shit, I'm subscribed to her, I totally forget her name, I feel so bad, but she's a musician who was talking about, talking about how you don't need to be like a super young person to make it big. You know, it's we get caught up in that because all the most famous people we know are, you know, even my favorite band Metallica, they were all late teens, early 20s when they came out with Kill 'Em All. But like, and then that too, it's like you don't need to be that famous of a band. Okay, well, first off, she had a video where she talked about people that didn't make it till like 30s and shit like that. And actually the benefits of not making it until you're older. You know, your frontal lobe is developed, all this kind of shit. So I view anyone, even the people I look up to that got famous young, I view anyone that got famous young as that's terrible for you. But also, she did another video about how you shouldn't want to be famous, and I always kind of like had this idea, but she really put it out there. She had this friend that's in a band that sells some records, they play shows, but they're not anywhere close to famous, but they've made a decent living. You know, they play shows for, I forget how many people she said. Not a crazy amount, not a small amount necessarily, but not a crazy amount either. But like, they had this success. You know, they sold records, they went on tours, but they weren't worldly famous. and they could go to a fucking grocery store and not be hassled by anybody. That's what I would want. I would want to make a living doing music, but I don't have any desire to be famous. I used to because of, childhood issues. Like most people who get into the business, it's like you have those issues growing up of not feeling seen or heard, and then you want to you use that to fuel your journey. But like, one, I went through way too much fucking like therapy and shit like that to focus on that as much. But like, two, it's like, why would I want that from a bunch of people I probably don't even like? Yeah, being famous is a stupid fucking thing to want. It really fucking is. And the more okay I get with myself mentally, and the more I'm able to recognize how stupid wanting to be famous is, the more I look at all these clowns on the internet. Like, I always knew they were clowns, like the people trying to get clout and shit like that. But it's even more apparent now, and it's like, oh god, like it's. And I don't even get pissed off looking at them anymore. The people that just are famous just because they're famous or whatever. I don't know, I just kind of roll my eyes and move on because it's like, okay, I have no desire to be in any part of that, so why would I let that affect me? And people that want to be influenced by that, well, I guess I could say they're idiots, but I guess I was kind of influenced by that to an extent myself. But I was only influenced by it because I thought I needed to, because other people told me I should have, but it always went against my better judgment, and I always knew that. Yeah. I don't know. I went in several different directions there with this whole thing I've been talking about. I don't fucking know. I don't know if I can see it on here, but I'm fucking covered in cat hair. Yeah. I think that's about it. Yeah. I want to go to bed, but I've also been alone all day, so it's like, I don't know, I kind of... It's funny, my brother's going to be home. And every time, especially when someone I really care about, like him or whoever else, I always get in my head a bunch like I need to perform for them for some reason, instead of recognizing that they care about me for me. But then also, it's funny, I get this overwhelming anxiety over it. But if I catch myself early enough, and especially right before I jump into whatever interaction with one of these people, just being around them for 5 minutes, I'm like, everything's fine, dude. And it all just kind of fades away. Not all my anxieties, but a decent amount. And it's just like, okay. And that's another issue, of like, this thing, this fun thing that's important to me. I place too much importance on it. It's like the way we get stressed out over holidays and stuff like that, like Christmas. Putting too much importance on it can make it just not fun. And making music and shit like that is something I was putting too much pressure on because it was important. But that was taken away from it. And I shouldn't be so afraid of loosening my grip, because that's the only way I'm going to survive. I am not, the insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Well, I am for sure insane because that's been my whole life. Right? Yeah. So yeah, why not? Why not just let go? Hell, I talked about this before. I wrote a fucking song about that. I don't have the music to go with it or anything like that, but it's lyrics I wrote while I was in rehab about, letting go. Yeah. But that's why I titled the song "Why Not," is because it's just like, well, why not? Why wouldn't I do that? So yeah. And I could say, so it's just something to remind yourself. Not something you need to remind yourself of. It's something you just needed to put in practice because you wouldn't need to keep reminding yourself of these things if you just would just fucking just jump off, just take the leap of faith. Yeah. Yeah. Have to work on this at some point, but Will not put that pressure on myself. Will ease up a little bit. Because me putting all the pressure on myself is what makes me procrastinate. Bad. It's a grapple gun, technically. Though that would probably go straight through your skull. Yeah. Anywho.